I will present our project for the new Munch Museum in Oslo that we are currently constructing. And I will, as I mentioned before, I would try to emphasize on the fact or on the need of constructing or building museums as democratic spaces. Something that can contribute to a common sense and to a positive thinking about the future as a group, as a city. So instead of talking about or explaining the architectural approach, I will try to sort of outline other aspects, more emphasized on the process, to show what is necessary today for museum making. So we will ask ourselves, how can museums become sort of machines or objects to understand and to read our cities of today in transformation? I will also ask how public debate can be matter of design, how we can incorporate the discussion about the project into the project, and how we can welcome the public to participate. I also want to talk a bit about programming of museums today, which has significantly changed, as we heard also in other contributions yesterday and today. And finally, I also would like to remark that the building process of museums is extremely long. So we have to find, as architects also, new ways, new strategies of communication to create a critical mass towards the public before the building actually is delivered. Okay, I have this fancy application here. That's a new gadget that is coming from my office. I will try to manage it as good as possible. We will depart from this timeline here, which shows the beginning of the process with the Munch Museum until today. So when we won the competition in 2009 and we started the competition in 2008, so that's a long time ago. I will lead through some process that we had on the project, but also I will highlight the process that we had communicating with the public, and I will also show some other projects that we did in the studio that actually served as small experiments, architectural experiments that were then taken into the Munch Museum, taken further. So I will start very quickly. I think Ines is very strictly on the timeline here, and we have a long journey in front of us. This is the first image that we made during the competition phase. And the competition, it was an international competition. Some of the architects, I believe, that speak today were also participating here. And our proposal was the only proposal to come up with a vertical structure, something that caused a lot of discussion after winning the competition. So the jury was led by Valerio Olgiati, Swiss architect, kind of recognized the potential of this idea of a vertical museum that at the same time aimed to free up as much public space as possible around this museum development. I also would like to get back to Ines when she said museums are some like black boxes from the outside. As you can see here in this image, our museum building actually has a very transparent and translucent circulation area towards the west facade, towards the city center of Oslo, which acts like a big monitor expressing what is happening inside the museum towards the outside. Of course, all the museum functions are in a concrete bunker that is hidden behind that and later wrapped in the facade. So it is actually a very active object in the city, reacting to the city, showing what is happening inside and also reacting and amplifying amplifying the light conditions in Oslo. So here we see a plan, a city map of Oslo. Oslo is a city in transformation. The former industrial harbor that disconnected the city from the fjord has disappeared, and the first cultural projects have been built, such as the Oslo Opera, that kind of opened up again this relation, this important relation between the water and the city. So in Oslo now there's a massive construction of cultural buildings ongoing, and there will be a new cultural axis appearing that connects the old city center with the town hall, one of the most beautiful buildings in Oslo, with the new cultural district with the different cultural buildings such as the Opera, the Dijkman Library and the Munch Museum appearing. As you can see here, a lot of this illustrated parts in this render has already been built. This was the former harbor that now kind of is transformed in a new mixed-use neighborhood. We have the cultural buildings, but we also have office buildings. We also have housing. So the Munch Museum that we see here together with the Opera, now I have to spot a bit, I think. So this is the Opera building. The idea of the Munch Museum was to kind of prolong this public space that leads the visitors of Oslo onto this roof of the Opera, reconnecting the city to the fjord, and then leading this effect of the public space up into our building. And then, as Andreas Ruby said today, offering this balcony that he discovered in the hospital in Basel, this kind of observatory to kind of read the city and the natural context. Okay, here you see the relation between the Opera again and the Oslo, the Munch Museum. The Munch Museum kind of reminds to this historical or to this industrial heritage of the harbor, forming a new kind of lighthouse that gives the visitors of Oslo a kind of orientation point and welcome point once they enter from the land, but also from the sea. There's a lot of tourists coming in from the sea by the boat. No, also. The idea of a public plaza on the ground floor, the lobby, that's something very beautiful in Norway. Since the weather conditions are so harsh, the public lobbies are actually very much used. People come into the lobby, for example, from the Opera or in other public buildings, and they really use it. So they sit there, they work, they take a coffee, they work with their laptops, and they meet with friends. So the meaning of a public space inside the museum also attracting visitors, local visitors, to come back more than one time, more just to see once in their lifetime the screen painting, but to come back and to see lectures, to see concerts, to send their children to painting classes and so on. That was of major importance to connect the institution back to the city. When the visitors go up in the building, and that's why we also call it an observatory, the visitors, they start the journey on the bottom, where the point where the city of Oslo was founded, and as they go up in the building, they see the past, the present, and the future when they get up to the top of the building, and they are welcomed by this tremendous terrace spaces, which are completely open for the public, so you don't need to pay for the entrance to go to these terraces. It's, as I said before, it's a democratic space. You can go up there, you can have a coffee, or you can just show your family or your friends this tremendous view. It's the first public building in Oslo in height which actually can count on such a view. As you know, as you can all imagine, Oslo is a rather low-rise city, so this will be something very new. So here you see, I will just very shortly talk about a floor plan. When you come as a visitor from this dynamic part, the dynamic museum as we call it, you enter into the exhibition rooms. You always have to enter, see the art and go out again. So there's a very strong connection between the collection of Edvard Munch with its former city or his native city. The exhibition rooms are, and that was also discussed or mentioned before, how do the exhibition rooms react to the collection of Edvard Munch? Edvard Munch, when he died, he donated his whole collection to the city of Oslo. He is the biggest single artist collection in the world. There are more than 28,000 pieces of art, paintings, huge paintings, small photographs, small drawings, sculptures. So it's a tremendous variety in media and formats. So the architecture had to kind of react to this. And as we will see later, the exhibition rooms show us different sizes, different heights, different proportions to actually accommodate this big variety in the collection of Munch. In 2010, we have been invited to work with the new exhibition spaces for the permanent collection of the Museum Reina Sofia, a contemporary art museum in Madrid. And what we did here, we had to work in a historical protected building of a tremendously deep floor plan. So here we inserted a kind of collection of interrelated or interconnected exhibition spaces to create a kind of series of rooms that the visitors actually have to cross without possibly losing one room of the collection. This is very interesting because these rooms and this layout was thought to be the for one changing exhibition, temporary exhibition, and later the museum decided to put the permanent collection there because it was so tremendously success for the curators, since we talked about flexibility before. So here we did a lot of effort also to work with the thick double-layered walls to incorporate all the installations and gadgets to give all the protagonism of the museum or of the rooms back to the art. So this spatial experiment we took into the Munch Museum. Now we are back at Munch, and where we kind of made a three-dimensional stack of exhibition rooms. The exhibition rooms on the typical floor plan are divided by a circulation core, and like this we have been able to find out together with the museum staff and the curators what are the perfect room sizes. The collection is absolutely fixed, closed. They don't buy new art, so we were actually able to custom made this section and these room sizes for the collection. Very luxury situation. In 2012, I believe, we have, or 13, we have been asked to transform a former industrial warehouse into the new gallery spaces of the Carreras Mujica Contemporary Art Gallery in Bilbao. So here we transformed an existing warehouse in the heart of a residential block just close by the Guggenheim Museum into the gallery spaces, and we wanted to reveal in the architecture this industrial heritage or the history of the building. So you see in all the materials, but most importantly in these skylights that we cut into the building roof that brings down this northern light without any shadows, make a quite important comment to the original heritage of the building. In the Munch Museum, again, we make a similar reference, maybe a little bit more similar, supple, I would say, with using a kind of aluminium, bent aluminium sheet, which is perforated, which is wrapping the whole building. Parts of the building is made of concrete, Other parts are made of glass behind these metal curves. So these give an idea of the old history of the place. But at the same time, this material reflects the stunning light conditions in Oslo. I don't know if you have you ever been there, but it's tremendous, this light, and of course also the hours of darkness, how the facade will change during the night and becoming all transparent and revealing its intestines, its inner heart. This was the idea when we talked about, or when we designed the facade. In Madrid, we are now finishing a gallery space for a collection, also contemporary art collection. And as we all know, and as I said before in the introduction, these projects take a long time. So we have to give something to the public to steer the interest and to steer the enthusiasm about these construction projects. We heard before from our colleague from Heatherwick that they didn't release any photos before the opening. We kind of try to go another approach. We would like to show what is happening in the building. We have invited the public. We have made tours in this gallery space to show to the public what is happening. And we have also invited artists to make pieces showing the collection on the site and also showing like photos from August Sander, showing the people who are working there, showing them in this context of the future exhibition spaces. Okay, I will now go very quickly into the program without being very detailed, but the program is something very, very important for museum building, and I might say for public projects in general. We have to be responsible for the work that we do as architects. We need to have a commission, so to say, and we need to know what we are designing for. So when we got the project, when we got the competition brief, the brief was very well worked out. We were lucky enough to win the competition with our interpretation of the program. But of course, then when we started the communication with the users, which we had a tremendously intense process together to kind of reformulate, rescale, and also complete the original competition brief. As you see here in this diagram, we made a kind of work together to find out about the positioning of the different programs within the building. The building is built into the water, so it was out of question to have storage in the cellar. So you see that the storage areas are actually stacked on top of the exhibition areas, are stacked on top of the conservation departments, are stacked on top of administration floors, and all this is revealed to the public, the people, the visitors, as they go up in the circulation in the dynamic museum. They can look into the conservation department, so it becomes part of the experience of the museum when you visit it, and that is something we believe is very, very, very powerful. I remember the first time I went to the Munch Museum when we got the invitation to participate in the competition. There were the huge paintings of Munch were unrolled in the auditorium of the Munch Museum, and it was made visible to the public how the restoration people were working on these paintings. You know, Munch was working always on the open air. Beautiful photos, complete disaster for the conservators today. He also stored his paintings in rolls outside his garden. But this, to see this, to understand this history of the collection, for us was a strong motive to do the building and the building section as we did. Another important aspect that came through over the years, especially when the new director, Stein Ove Henriksen, came on board. Stein Ove, he was the former director of the Bergen Opera, which was a very inspiring moment because he came not from an art historian background. He came from an opera institution, and asking, of course, for many, many other things that nobody has thought about before. He wanted to have bigger, more public spaces, more meeting facilities, a bigger auditorium, more emphasis on education and children. And you see, if you compare to the left, this is the competition brief, and if you compare to the right, this is what the project is today. The emphasis, what we know as complementary program of the museums has become much more important today. We have heard today also before that it is important for financing, but this is true, it's a hard fact. But at the same time, we believe that this programming, which is not necessarily exhibition, is also necessary to connect the institution, to connect the museum back to the city. Of course, you have tons of Japanese tourists coming every year, and it's a tremendous success, the Munch Museum, internationally. But there is a task for the museum as an institution within their own city to create this strong connection and to offer these possibilities for people. Okay, we won the competition in 2009. Tremendous discussion the day after. Of course, the first reaction in the public was, why does it need to be so high? There were comments from the cultural heritage people. There were comments from the neighbors. Everybody was commenting. There were comments on the political process. There were comments about the choice for the site. So it was a lot of discussions necessary. We put ourselves into the center of this discussion. We invited everybody to talk to us. We presented the project. We didn't try to convince nobody. We tried to take this discussions into the project. This went on for years. The project was stopped for 2 years in Oslo. There was a torch parade in front of the Oslo town hall to demonstrate. The supporters demonstrate. I've never seen something like that before. For a building, people were demonstrating with these lights. A little bit spooky also, I have to admit. And then finally, we got the permission to go ahead from the city council. And in the cornerstone ceremony where the royal family and also the town hall representatives delivered the construction site process to their citizens, we were not even there anymore. We were not asked. So that was the feeling. I was standing there in the crowd and I thought, okay, we have done our job. We have delivered the building already. Now we can focus on the construction. During the discussions in the media and in the public, in the eye of the storm, we installed ourselves in Oslo in a small architecture gallery where we presented our work. We wanted to show ourselves to the public who we were, and we also designed a table that we put as a center of this exhibition, where we invited the public to roundtable discussions, not only the public, but also museum experts and other colleagues from other fields, artists and so on, where we discussed these matters and where we kind of very transparently took all the comments from everybody. And this installation and these recordings of these discussions later went to the Venice Biennale that was commissioned by David Chipperfield in 2012. This installation that we made in Venice we called Dialogue Architecture, and there we showed the same table. We reproduced the discussions that we had there at that moment. Very proud and very happy that we managed to navigate through this process. And there we kind of reflected on our own profession. What does the architect today need to bring? Is it how can we kind of help the cities and also the clients to navigate through these complex processes with a lot of shareholders? So if Ines is letting us, I say us, so it's easier to defend, I want to show a small video. It's the first art piece that has arrived to the Munch Museum. We still have 2 years left to go. This is another strategy. We propose to do a concert on the construction site. This was not possible to do due to security, but then the Munch director had another fantastic idea that we want to show now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ines.